Hello everybody, you tuned to Radio Card Game. Today I want to talk about the new cards that have been revealed a couple of days ago. That will be released in Savage Strike in 13th of October, I think, in the OCG, and it will probably be around January or February here in the TCG. This set is a booster set that follows Soul Fusion that already came out in the OCG and that is going to come out in mid-October here in the TCG. So a couple of interesting cards have been revealed, an underwhelming one, which is this one that I'm pointing to, and an interesting card, a pot, very powerful as most of its kind, and another trap card I will show you later. So I will start with this trap card, which is really underwhelming, and it says it's called Dark Factory of Increased Production, and it says it's a continuous trap card, and it says that you can only use its effect once per turn, and its effect reads as follow: send one monster from your hand or field to the graveyard and you draw one card. So why this card is quite underwhelming, because first of all, it's a continuous trap card, so it's not searchable by Lilith or Trap Trick, for example, and except for upon activation, it can be augured. And the second drawback is that you just send a monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, so you do not tribute and you do not discard. By not discarding, you cannot trigger the new cards, the new danger cards that are TCG exclusive, but at the same time, since you cannot tribute this monster, you cannot use your opponent's monster with, for example, Lair of Darkness, and which is a shame actually. And I don't know why you should send a monster from your field to draw one card. I was expecting, like most of the people actually think, that this card would have been useful for normal monsters, just like the original Dark Factory, but instead it's just this kind of underwhelming but generic draw card, and it's really bad actually. It also has a cost, so it's a -1 in terms of card advantage, and so there is no point for now to actually use this card. Maybe in the future, maybe there will be more interesting cards that go hand to hand with this card. Maybe some other cards in Savage Strike, maybe an archetype, a whole new archetype that synergize with this card. We don't know, but for now, and I think for the rest of its life, it will always be a bad card. Instead, the new pot is called Pot of Indulgence, and it's a normal spell card. And it says that at the start of your main phase 1, so you can only activate this card at the start of your main phase 1. Banish either 3 or 6 of your face down extra deck cards randomly, and you banish them face down. So you can only banish your extra deck monsters that counts between the 15 range. So if you're playing Pendulum, you cannot banish Pendulum monsters because they are not face down extra deck cards, but they are face up extra deck cards. So just keep in mind this. This is the cost, and you draw one card for every 3 cards you banished. And for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot draw cards with card effect. So what's interesting here? If you banish 3 cards, you just draw 1. If you banish 6, you draw 2 cards. And these numbers are quite smart actually, because this means that you can activate 3 Pot of Indulgence in one single game, because you can activate 2 Pot of Indulgence, banishing 6 monster each time, and you draw 2, and you're left with 3 monster in your extra deck, and you can activate a 3rd Pot of Indulgence, banishing 3 monster, the last 3 monster from your extra deck, and drawing 1 card. So this is one thing to keep in mind. Unfortunately, they are randomly banished, so you do not get the chance to choose which extra deck monster you want to banish. So maybe if you're playing something like Altergeist that don't need a lot of its extra deck, but still need to summon Extia with this card, you will probably going to use 3 Extia in your extra deck instead of just 2, like a lot of people do right now. So, talking about the decks that this card that can use this card. So, as I said, Altergeist is an interesting pick, probably one of the best one, alongside Trickstars that with Scapegoated 2 and probably is going to go to 1. Your extra deck space will be more widened, and so you can use this card with no problem, and it will also replace probably a Pot of Desires in case Reincarnation is going to be hit in the next few ban lists. That didn't happen this time, unfortunately. I don't know why. And Cosmos, all the stand decks can use these cards, of course, but another interesting deck that may or may not use this card is True Draco. True Draco doesn't use, of course, its extra deck. Actually, most of the time it's empty because you use Monarch Erupt in your main deck as a as a good floodgate, since it's a skill drain actually. But you can only activate this card at the start of your main phase 1, and you cannot draw cards for the rest of your turn. So, which means that you cannot use Heritage, you cannot use Pot of Desires, you cannot use Card of Demise. But I still think that this card might be interesting just in case Card of Demise is going to be it sooner or later in the upcoming ban lists. I don't think this is going to happen, but just in case, this is a card that you should keep in mind if you're playing True Draco. And also because it's completely free. Instead, Heritage needs a little bit of setup, of course, and sometimes you need to go in minus card advantage to have some to gain some pluses from Heritage. But still, very interesting card, really pretty powerful, of course. It will probably be a secret here in the TCG, and I suggest you to find this card as soon as possible once it will come out. Even if you're not using a quote-unquote extra deckless strategy, but so yeah, but this card is really powerful, and I'm looking forward to see this card played here in the TCG. And also the next card is Witch's Strike. This card is the most anticipated card of the 3, I think, and we all thinking that it would have been a counter trap, maybe a counter trap that would have negated the activation or the effect of a spell card, spell or trap card. So it would have been able to negate the solemn cards, but instead is a normal trap card, which is already really good because again it's searchable by Lilith and Trap Trick. And it reads as follows: if your opponent negated the normal or special summon of a monster, or if your opponent negated the activation of a card or effect, destroy all cards your opponent controls and have in the hand. So this card is not hard once per turn, and it's really powerful since it's also searchable. But one thing that you have to keep in mind about this wording is that your opponent negated the activation of a card or effect. It doesn't mean that you can activate this card if your opponent negates the effect. Your opponent still needs to negate the activation or the effect of a card. So, for example, you cannot change this card. You cannot activate this card if your opponent uses his Widow Anchor, for example, or his Ash or Baylor. You can only activate this card if your opponent negates the activation or the effect or the card, of course. So, for example, cards like the Solemns and Protocol against Altergeist, or for example, Gospel, which quite interestingly negates the activation and not just the effect as Ash Blossom. But keep in mind this ruling, and this card is going to be really powerful, especially if Altergeist will gain more and more power and more field presence inside the metagame, since it's been untouched actually. No Floodgate touched, no Altergeist cards are touched, unlike happened in the OCG. So we will probably stick around with Altergeist a little bit more, and since this card will come out in around January and February, of course Altergeist will still be a prevalent deck, so I suggest you to pick this card up because it will be more important than the pot itself, and probably we will use this card as a side deck if Altergeist will gain more power, and we don't know, the solving cards are really powerful. Even though we don't use them right now, they can be really prevalent and really important all of a sudden in one point during the metagame. And also with Thunder Dragon, Gospel will use more and more, and this card can be activated after the use of Gospel. It will probably be a secret too, just like happened with Heavenly Mist or Infinite Permanence, and it will probably be a lot expensive. And so that's it for today, guys. I hope you like these card reviews. I would like to do more in the future. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this review, about these cards, and yeah, let me know if you want to hear more from me about this cards review, these new spoilers of the booster set and dually sparks and starter decks and on. And so that's it for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and leave a like and subscribe and supporting the small channel. Until next time, I'm Radio Card Game, signing out.